Week 4 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few defense DST units I would start this week. The first one, the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers defense have been playing good football this season so far. Week 1 in Minnesota, I know they didn't do anything though. 23 points allowed, a sack. Week 2 versus the Bears, 10 points allowed, 3 sacks and into. And Week 3 at Tampa, 12 points allowed, 3 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. So right now they're holding teams down pretty good. In Week 4 here, they got a great matchup versus the New England Patriots, who obviously going to be out with Mac Jones in this one. Brian Hoyer is probably going to be the starter unless they're bringing Cam Newton off the street, which reports say they might. But anyway, this Packer defense, they get to the opposing quarterbacks. They hold down the scoring a lot. And this week here, I can't see New England really generating much offense, especially with Mac Jones out, and the lack of playmakers on this team. Jacoby Myers is banged up. Nelson Aguilar, he's hit or miss. Devontae Parker, I know, had a big ball game. And Stevenson and Harris have been decent, but right now, I don't think any of these guys are going to do anything. And the Packers here could definitely be a top 3 defense this week. The next defense, the Dallas Cowboys. So this Cowboy D-line has been furious in the first few weeks of the season here, getting to the quarterback. And each and every game here, this Cowboy team at least has a sack, including the last 2 ball games. 11 sacks combined. Week 1 versus Tampa Bay, 19 points allowed, 2 sacks and interception. Week 2 versus Cincinnati, 17 points allowed, 6 sacks. And Week 3 at the Giants, 16 points allowed, 5 sacks and into, and a block kick. So right now they're playing good defense. They're getting to the quarterback and they're causing havoc. And right here, Week 4 versus a bad Washington Commander offensive line that got Carson Wentz sacked 8 times in the Week 3 matchup versus Philly. It's going to be a recipe for success here for the Cowboys. Way up in defensive line, they're going to get pass rush early and often on Carson Wentz in this Week 4 ball game with the Washington Commanders. Cowboys back at home, trying to win their 3rd in a row. And right here, Micah Parsons, he's been a man on a mission so far in the early going. And even DeMarcus Lawrence woke up in Week 3 with 3 sacks at the Giants. So right here, Week 4 with a great matchup versus a weak offensive line. And Carson Wentz, who throughout his career has been a crash test dummy, getting sacked a lot. I think this Cowboy defense at least will get 3 or 4 sacks in this ball game. And they're also a defense that could possibly be within the top 5 this week as well. The next defense staying in the NFC East is the Philadelphia Eagles. So this Philly team has been playing great football in the early going, starting the season 3-0. And their defense has really come out and played great football. Week 1 at Detroit, 35 points allowed, a sack, a pick 6 in that one. Week 2 versus Minnesota, 7 points allowed, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions. And Week 3 at the Commanders, 6 points allowed, 9 sacks, a fumble recovery. So right here, they got to old friend Carson Wentz early and often with the 9 sacks. And Week 4 here, I think they could get to Trevor Lawrence a little bit in this game, even though I think Trevor Lawrence has definitely improved from last season to this season. And we know former head coach Doug Peterson coaches the Jaguars now, and he might know some of the Philadelphia Eagles secrets. But anyway, this ball game is going to be a good one, I think, between these 2 teams. This Eagle defense is flying high, no pun intended. And once again this week, I think they have a great performance. And their defense, I would start this week. The next defense, the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams so far, I thought they'd be better than they have been in the early going, where they've just been mediocre for fantasy football. Week 1 versus Buffalo, 31 points allowed, 2 sacks, 2 windows, 2 fumble recoveries. Week 2 versus Atlanta, 25 points allowed, 3 sacks, 2 windows, a fumble recovery. In Week 3 at Arizona, a quiet game in terms of extra stats. 12 points allowed, which is great, 2 sacks. But Week 4 here at San Francisco, I think they could get to Jimmy G a little in this game, get a couple turnovers, get a few sacks in this one. And this is a Monday Night Football game, a divisional game, obviously. So this Ram team, not great performances, 9-6 in the early going. But right here, Week 4 at San Francisco, I think they could get things going here. And Aaron Donald, we haven't seen him do much in the early going. But this one versus the Niners, I think he could get things going, especially with Trent Williams, all-pro offensive tackle, out in this one for a few weeks. So right here, I think this Ram defense could cause chaos and have a good ball game. And the 5th and final defense I look to start this week is the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm just going off the matchup here as a start for this Cardinal team. I know their defense hasn't been good this season at all. Week 1 versus Kansas City, 44 points allowed, a fumble recovery. Week 2 at the Raiders, 23 points allowed, a sack, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown. A ball game with a walk-off, fumble recovery for a touchdown. In Week 3 versus the Rams, 20 points allowed, which ain't horrible, but only a sack and a fumble recovery. But Week 4 here, they travel to Carolina, and it's a good matchup versus an offense that doesn't have much going for them. Baker Mayfield, he hasn't looked good at all the same as he did last season in Cleveland. Christian McCaffrey, he's been solid. But besides that, no one's doing anything. DJ Moore, he's been non-existent and a bust so far this season. And Robbie Anderson, besides that first week 1 ball game where he went off, he hasn't done anything as well. So I think this Arizona defense could get a few sacks on Baker. We know Baker's good for 1 or 2 turnovers as well. And this team, they need a victory after going 1-2 in the early going, where they easily could be 0-3 after that nice come-from-behind victory in week 2. So I think as a 1-week start here, Cardinals this week, so that's a few defenses I look to start here for week 4 of the fantasy football season.